The Agriculture Minister says he's expecting a bumper sugar crop despite setbacks this year. Government's budget described as exciting for people with disabilities. Concern about an increase in the cost of drugs addressed. And in sports, a Barbados and West Indies cricket legend honoured at Kensington Oval.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC NewsNight, starting now.
Good evening, I'm Pearson Bowen. The 2024 sugar crop has started amid concern the delay could impact production. Trevor Thorpe tells us at some plantations, activities began soon after daybreak.
Manager at Edgecombe Plantation Richard Mears lamented the late start of the crop, but he says another challenge is facing the industry, that of trucks and tipping bins. He said he was fortunate to have a truck at Edgecombe when they started cutting this morning.
I heard some rumors, but I am not sure, and I don't really get involved in things that do not pertain to me. But I believe there is some trucking issues.
Cane harvester driver Desmond Best took along cameraman Christopher Wood as the canes were being reaped. Mr. Mayor said rotting had started to set in on the cane because of the late start.
I was hoping we could have started about 3 weeks ago, but that was out of my control. My program is that this morning at 6:35, we started reaping canes at Edgecombe Plantation in a section we call Firehill, and we reaped 4 tipping trailers of canes so far. I was fortunate that I had a truck on my loading bay by 7:15 this morning. He went to Port Vale Factory, he weighed offload, and he's on his way back up for the second trip. I am waiting on my second assigned truck.
The plantation manager said tonnage could be down this year.
I am not seeing the yield that they're speaking about, but at the end of the crop, we will see from the quotations that was put in and what the final figure is. But I can tell you that I'm reaping 25 acres of first crop less this year. But I should produce the same amount of tonnage as I did last year because my crop looked very good at Edgecombe.
But Minister of Agriculture, Food and Nutritional Security Indar Weir said despite the setbacks, he is expecting a bumper crop.
The crop did indeed start today. Everything is going well so far. I expect to have a slow start just like every crop, but I also look forward to a bumper crop this year.
The mood across the industry is that with all the issues ironed out, the 2024 sugar crop should still be a good one. Trevor Thorpe, CBC News.
St. James North Member of Parliament and disabilities advocate Edmund Hinkson has described the recent budget delivered by Prime Minister Mia Amor-Motley as exciting for people with disabilities. Speaking at last night's BLP St. James Joint Branch meeting at Queen's College, Mr. Hinkson explained some of the measures will alleviate some of the financial pressures people with disabilities and their families have been enduring. He's highlighted the measure relating to the access of NIS benefits.
You could have the harshest, most severe form of multiple sclerosis, or cerebral palsy, and you can't, as of right, access non-contributory benefits from or disability benefits from the NIS. You have to go before a tribunal and fight your case and hope that the tribunal tolerant and has empathy and hence give you that benefit. That ain't right. Because, as you know, the vast majority of people with disabilities in this country are poor, from poor families.
Mr. Hinkson adds the budget also addressed some of the matters pertaining to travel expenses for people with disabilities.
The days when a person with disability has to pay a taxi, private taxi, $200 to get to the QEH, or the private doctor has to stop. The state has to intervene to make life better for these people.
And St. James South MP Sandra Husbands has promised residents of Prior Park some improvements to the road in the community soon.
In order to do the Prior Park Road, they had to change the pipes because the pipes were broken. People were getting brown water, low pressure. and so they had to change all of the pipes, and that part of the work has been completed. But it left the road a little bit messy, left it very uncomfortable, so we were able to persuade the Ministry of Transport and Works to just come and do a temporary patch, because at the moment they are finalizing the costing for doing the road, and we are hoping that in short order they will actually start the actual reconstruction of that road. That is not a mill and pave, that is a dig up, strengthen, reinforce, and then put that topping on it and give us the icing on the cake.
Meanwhile, there's more news about efforts to protect poor and vulnerable groups in Barbados. Minister of People Empowerment and Elder Affairs Kirk Humphrey says one of the areas being addressed is child care protection legislation. He was speaking yesterday during the BLP St. George North constituency branch meeting at the Cuthbert Moore Primary.
That by the end of this year, and surely by the end of our term, this government would have done more for people in this country than any other government as it relates to the social services. That is a fact, because the child care legislation that guides the country is 120 years old. Now, how could you feel comfortable in 2024 being guided by legislation from the 1900s? Makes no sense.
In news from the Senate now, we're being told that government is actively working with the private sector to tackle the issue of inflation in the local market. Leading off the debate on the Appropriations Bill 2024, Minister of Energy and Business Development, Senator Lisa Cummins, said economists have advised against using price controls to manage prices. However, Senator Cummins says government is currently reviewing proposals from the business community on the way forward.
We sat with the business community and we continue to sit with the business community, and as I speak now, there are proposals that the business community has raised that are being given active consideration on how we can further intervene where it lands at the border. As long, Mr. President, as the food item lands at the government, lands at our borders, that is where this government has given the assurance that we will intervene as long as we can.
In her contribution, Opposition Senator Tricia Watson is suggesting government will have to go back to the drawing board and revise expected revenue in this year's estimates. Senator Watson says there is an absence of an explanation as to where the government intends to recoup the $1.5 billion deficit.
I would suggest to taxpayers that they listen very carefully to the suggestion that there will be no new taxes, because we know if there's a $1.5 billion deficit, the money has to come from somewhere. Somewhere. It has to come from the pockets of taxpayers in this country, or perhaps there will be some offering of debt to the people of Barbados.
The Barbados Pharmaceutical Society says the changes to the beneficiary fee are very minimal. President Marlon Ward-Rogers says there has been no adjustment in 13 years, and this hike allows for the system to be viable.
It would be only to the items that would have been already paid the full cost by the government. So the beneficiary fee would just be additional, in some cases, $2, not anything outrageous or whatever, because as was stated in the memo, the prices haven't been tweaked since 2011. You know, a lot of stuff has happened since then, increasing late bills, increasing labels, all the different stuff that required to provide the highest service.
The increase in beneficiary fee for each drug dispensed on the special benefit service will be as follows: from $5 to $7, from $7 to $10, and from $12 to $14. Mr. Ward-Rogers adds most medications remain at the same price, but some for non-communicable diseases may cost more per month.
Most medications will remain the same price. However, like, give you an example, if you were using like amlodipine or something like that, it might be $6 instead of $4. That would be like one for blood pressure. Changes will be very, very, very minimal, as the government is still paying for the full cost of the medication. So the change in costs would be probably monthly. It might be, in some cases, a $6 increase or a $4 increase for a whole month of medication.
We take a break here, but we can tell you that coming up, the police are investigating a stabbing death. A 31-year-old man is dead following a stabbing last night along Golf Club Main Road at Rendezvous, Christchurch. He's been identified as Kemar MacDonald Weeks of 3rd Avenue, Club Morgan in the same parish. Weeks was reportedly involved in a dispute with another man around 9:30. The police say he was transported to the QEH by a private vehicle, but he passed away while receiving medical treatment. Now, 2 motorists were treated at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital earlier today for a number of injuries involving a 2-car collision along the ABC highway this morning. According to reports, one of the cars was driven by 48-year-old Neil Bostic of Gemswick St. Philip, while the other was driven by 23-year-old Tune Joseph of Drakesland, Cave Hill, St. Michael. Reports are that the accident, which occurred just after 10, resulted in both vehicles veering off the road and ending up in the ditch. Officials say both Bostic and Joseph were taken to the hospital by ambulance complaining of injuries. Bostic reportedly suffered injuries to his right side, his back and neck, while Joseph received injuries to her right hand. 2 appliances under the command of Divisional Officer Wayne Vaughan from the Fire Service also responded to the scene. The Alen School has taken a step towards cutting its carbon footprint. This morning, a biodigester was donated to the St. Andrew Institution by representatives of the University of the West Indies. PhD student and engineer Felicia Cox is associated with that project. She says the methane gas that will be produced from the breakdown of the waste fed to the digester will benefit the school.
What we've decided to do is to install the associated stove that it comes with in the home economics, one of the home economics lab, and it will be able to run for about 2 hours a day, so it will help to cut some of the costs, but also it will be able to help them to manage some of their waste, let's say from their agricultural science programs, and also the waste from grass clippings and so on around the school. Given that the country is committed to 100% renewable energy by 2030 and the need for us to actually defray costs of imported fuel, every school should have some projects associated with renewable energy to help to educate students and also to help to raise the next scientists, engineers, operators, and also to help to raise awareness around renewable energy.
Some primary school students got an opportunity today to express their creativity through a poster competition organized by the Barbados Meteorological Services in observance of World Meteorological Day. A number of them were on hand on Saturday for the Met Office Open Day, during which the winners were announced. Haley Cheeseman of Christchurch Girls emerged as the winner. Second was Jada Murrell from Homeschool Program, and Sienna Maxwell of the Holy Innocents Primary was third. Organizer of the poster competition, Tia Brown, said the participants, who were between the ages of 7 to 10, developed their initiative against the theme "On the Front Line of Climate Action."
To commemorate World Met Day, we extended our celebrations to students within our primary schools, both private and public, between the ages of 7 to 10, to be a part of our very first poster competition. So we have a lot of firsts for us this year. This poster competition is to showcase their creative talents and visualize their ideas on the theme for World Met Day at the front lines of climate action. There have been many initiatives, both nationally and globally, towards the fight against climate change. But evidently, children are our future.
The meteorologist said the quality of the work rendered by the students reflected a sense of deep thought and concentration. She said it was the first such undertaking by the Met Services, and it would not be the last.
To commemorate World Met Day, we extended our celebrations to students within our primary schools, both private and public, between the ages of 7 to 10, to be a part of our very first poster competition. So we have a lot of firsts for us this year. This poster competition is to showcase their creative talents and visualize their ideas on the theme for World Met Day at the front lines of climate action. There have been many initiatives, both nationally and globally, towards the fight against climate change. But evidently, children are our future.
Sports Night is brought to you by Power Inn. Pause is power. And by Dasani. Live first, Dasani after.
Time for sports now as we're joined by Anne-Marie. That's why the smile is on my face. Anne-Marie, good evening to you.
Good evening to you, Pearson. I begin with this news that dignitaries led by Prime Minister Mia Motley joined former West Indies and Barbados players this afternoon for the unveiling of the statue to honor fast bowling legend Sir Charles Griffith. The 85-year-old has been immortalized in the form of a statue at Kensington Oval. He joins former teammates national hero the Right Excellent Sir Garfield Sobers and Sir Wesley Hall outside the gates of the region's Mecca. Sir Charles's statue was a 3-year process and a product of sculptor Jason Hope, the same person who crafted statues of Sir Frank Walcott and Sir Wes Hall. In her remarks, Prime Minister Mia Motley defended government's investment in Kensington Oval, which is the third most iconic cricket venue in the world.
Believe our commitment was not only and is not only to the refurbishment of the ground, but we have been very careful to commit ourselves to ensuring that the young Barbadian and West Indian cricketers, Kimar, can have access to the best technology that is capable of being accessed in this world. This notion that we must have raw talent and ignore the other aspects of our business and the other aspects of technology such that others then have a significant advantage on us cannot be tolerated, because we know better and we must do better.
The man of the moment, Sir Charles, said the Barbados Cricket League, where he first started his career, played a pivotal role in the development of the sport here on the island.
Some of our greatest players have been forged on the anvil of BCL cricket development. They include the world's greatest cricketers, Sir Garfield Sobers, Sir Everton Weekes, Sir Conrad Hunt, the most honorable Dr. Desmond Haynes, Seymour Nurse, Clement de Pisa, Van Buren Holder, Sylvester Clark. And if I had time, I could go on and on and on to show what the BCL has produced and BCL done for Barbados and West Indies cricket. The BCL influence has declined over the years. However, I sincerely hope that during the coming years we could work in collaboration with all of the relevant stakeholders to strengthen the BCL cricket so that it can continue to make that critical contribution to the development of Barbados and West Indies cricket.
NAPSAC 2024 officially got underway today at the Usain Bolt Sports Complex with 2 zones. In the Rubis Caribbean Andrea Blackett zone, Good Shepherd Primary took home the spoils in both the boys and girls. They amassed a total of 295.83 points to top the girls and 259 in the boys section. Then in the Holiday Bermudas James Wedderburn zone, Christchurch girls blew away their few with 256 points, while in the boys St. Giles were first with 199.3. Here's a look at some of the sprints.
A little tough this year for the athletes because they will not be advancing by zones, rather the 8 best overall. So as they go, Clark Graves of St. Bartholomew's running away with this one. Kiara Clark Graves, there'll be no catching her. Second will go to Nalo Hood of Eden Lodge Primary. They're off. Right again in the middle, Lamar Husbands of Roland Edwards. He was determined to win this one and really motoring down the straightaway. Barker Bradshaw of St. Matthews finishing up in second. They're off and running. A great start there from Lashley of Christchurch Girls. No challenge. Kamaya Lashley of Christchurch Girls, easy winner. So there we go, good clean start to that one. On the inside, Kaylee Stewart of St. Paul's Primary. He's being challenged by Winfield of Good Shepherd. So it's Stewart and Winfield. Stewart off and running. Haynes, Best, Gordon, King, Grant, and Griffith. Seeing King of St. Bartholomew's, and on the inside in lane 2 is Cruz Haynes of St. Gabriel's. So it's King versus Haynes, Haynes versus King. These two battling, but looks to me like on the inside in lane number 2, Cruz Haynes of St. Gabriel's will take the first of 3 sections in the under 11 boys 200 meters.
It looks like Nazir Shepherd Cave from Milton Lynch Primary. He's looking to make up the stagger, and thundering down the track on the outside of him from St. Stephen's is Emilio Boxhill. So it looks like Shepherd Cave and Boxhill on the outside. It looks like an absolute humdinger of a race, but I just feel that St. Milton Lynch wins it on the line.
The Business Report is brought to you with the kind compliments of the National Insurance and Social Security Service. More than a contribution, it's your lifeline.
Time for tonight's business report. The government is moving to put measures in place to securely use digital signatures in the future. That's the word from Innovation Minister Marsha Cadell. She was speaking at the Compliance Beyond Borders Insights from the Financial Regulations Conference at the Hilton Hotel.
One of the next steps to which we are moving, encouraged and buoyed by the e-immigration services, e-passport services, and by the Trident ID, is towards this notion of public key infrastructure, and working with many of you to build that out to make sure that we are able to securely use digital signatures for the next generation of the online services and the online service environment to which Barbados is moving.
Minister Cadell adds the Data Protection Authority is key in advancing the island's digital thrust. She stresses the country must take all steps to safeguard itself against cybersecurity threats or breaches.
When it comes to cybersecurity threats, the answer is not to do nothing. I understand the anxiety when governments come up with new legislation and determine that it must extend itself to be able to protect citizens. But if we do not have the conversation now, we leave ourselves open to threats.
While lauding government's efforts to teach coding, a government minister notes there's still a way to go to catch up with international countries. It's the view of St. James Central MP Kerry Simmons. He was speaking at a joint BLP branch meeting at Queen's College last night.
The people that they've got to compete against are the ones in England, the ones in the United States, who are also compulsorily doing it under their 7-year-old to the university program. Compulsory. Tell me who got grandchildren here that bring home coding on an evening as part of the homework.
Time for us to get back over now to Anne-Marie Burke with more sports. Anne-Marie, how did your morning start?
My morning started doubly good. The celebrations continue this morning for the 2024 Dasani Power 8 BSAT Double Crown champions, the Combermere School. The Waterford institution convincingly captured the boys and girls titles at the Usain Bolt complex on Friday, and a special assembly was held in the team's honor this morning. Students, teachers, old scholars all gathered at the school known as the University of Waterford to toast the achievement of their track and field team after they conquered all other schools to lift both the boys and girls titles at this year's BSAC Championships. They were toasted in song, cheers, congratulatory words, but the spotlight was really on the athletes. These are the boys and girls who laid it all on the line for their school's victories. The team behind them was head of department Michael Small, Gerard Murray, Don Waldron, Tricia Briggs, Marlon Hart, and Stuart Mears. Mr. Murray, who was the head coach, said much of the victory was also attributed to the athletes' resilience beyond the field of play.
It felt as if there was a nation against us, and every day we will go through it, have our team meetings, talk about it, and then I recognized that this year was a little different. This year, the athletes actually understood what mental resilience is. When the others were faltering, we stood tall. When they said bad things about us, we stood tall. Almost as if we never even heard it. And those last 2 days of BSAC, I made sure I stood up on the infield and took it all in. Because to be there to see that unfold was a sight to see. I don't think that I've ever seen anything like that in track and field. Especially when we came in most cases, 8th qualifiers, 7th. And then we went on the track in the finals, we medaled, we came positions higher. And then they stood up and looked around us and they watched every school conceded.
Correct.
Every single one. And I made sure that I take that in. Because that is a sight of the Commonwealth.
The win was one felt beyond the student body, all connected to the school's shares in their success.
And as Team Combermere, you stirred up that Combermere spirit within Combermerians all across this country, across the diaspora. And these are the persons who cheered you on in person and virtually online.
In attendance at the celebrations were a number of old scholars, including some familiar faces and members of Parliament, including Attorney General Dale Marshall. There were senators and high-ranking officials. Speaking on their behalf, Speaker of the House Arthur Holder said they will also be making a special donation to the Physical Education Department.
We are not just an educational institution, but we form particular bonds to make you well-rounded, so that when you leave here, you can go and work in any arena. So I want to urge you and encourage you to keep on pressing on. Let this be but the start of what you can do and what you are able to do. So that I implore you and encourage you to see this as but a stepping stone for higher things that you are capable of doing.
This is just the start of many other celebrations planned for the newly crowned BSAC double champions. Up and on, up and on.
And that's our time tonight. Thank you for yours. I'm Pearson Bowen. For the crew, to all of you, good night. By God's will, we'll see you tomorrow.